Argentina's battered economy contracted 1.6% in 2023, and financial services, manufacturing, wholesale and retail were among the sectors that were hit the hardest. The economy contracted in December by the most since the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic as newly elected President Javier Milei put in motion shock austerity measures. Argentina was hit by severe drought in 2023 that hurt its agro-export industry, but also subtracted 3 percentage points from GDP, and that's according to official data. Last month, the International Monetary Fund, to which Argentina owes $44 billion, revised its forecast downward with a contraction of 2.8% in 2024. Ultra-liberal new President Javier Milei was elected on promises to slash state spending. And since coming to office in December, he has devalued the peso by over 50%. He's also cut tens of thousands of public jobs and halved the size of the government. Annual inflation has also hit 254% this year. Let's get more on this now with Russ Mould in London. He's investment director at AJ Bell. Thank you for being with us, Russ. So shock austerity measures, at least in theory, do you think that they have a potential for the Argentine economy or not?
Hello, Ludovica. Well, you could argue that most things that Argentina has tried since Juan Perón took charge in 1946 hasn't worked. So you can understand why Argentinians have voted to try something different. I think the first test of whether austerity and shock therapy will have an effect is whether that rate of inflation starts to come down quite quickly. It has spiked because of the devaluation of the peso that he sanctioned, but if his reforms begin to have an effect, you would like to think there'll be a fairly rapid improvement there, and that would be a good first step.
Because Milei has actually slashed public spending, we now know that more than half, 50% of the population is now living below the poverty line. What do you think, what can be done to sort this out first and foremost?
I mean, there is a model for him to follow in some ways. If you look at Chile, it went through a big period of similar difficulty, and then he implemented a 3-point program of liberalize, privatize, stabilize. Now, a lot of what Chile did at the same time under General Pinochet was not good. There were some terrible political things done by the military, and nobody can condone those. But economically, Chile has reaped enormous benefits. The thing there is it took that program, 10 years to be implemented and longer to bring the long-term benefits that you can see in Chile today. But if Milei gets a little bit of time, then if he can start to privatize, attract foreign direct investment, cut tariffs that will also encourage investment. Argentina is asset rich. Look at Vaca Muerta, it's huge shale oil field. There are things that he can do which could help over the long term if he gets time.
That's interesting. Technically, Russ, can you help us understand what it means to devalue a currency, in this case the peso, by over 50%, and how it would help for the debt of the economy and many other things? Can you help us understand?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge that Argentina has is it owes debt to virtually every international authority that owes money to almost every international authority that you can think of. So devaluing your currency by half effectively decreases the amount of money that you can pay them back. So it frees you to some degree from the short-term burden. The long-term challenge is that, well, either people don't lend to you at all, or they demand a much higher interest rate because of the risk you and your currency present. So Milei has created himself some breathing room. What he's now looking to prove to people is not only, can I reform the economy, I can get it on such an even keel that eventually we will be worth lending to at a sensible interest rate. But again, as Chile proved, that will take time.
That's really, really interesting. And last point, Russ, we are seeing recessions around the world. We saw Japan, but also the UK. They've entered technical recession. Are they, though, likely to be shallow recessions this time round? At least Andrew Bailey, the UK Bank of England's governor, said that about the UK that this is going to be a shallow recession. But do you agree?
That's the master plan. Recessions nobody likes them, but they are part of the natural ebb and flow of the economy. If you look at the number of recessions we had in the West during the 20th century and in the economic progress that was achieved anyway, we have to accept that they are natural. And I think if you try too hard to bend that system by keeping interest rates too low, by printing too much money, you're actually possibly on the first long steps that Argentina's taken over the last 60 years to completely wreck itself. Have to be careful how you try to deal with those recessions. But at the moment, central banks feel confident they have the tools to keep them shallow without leading to problems such as big inflation further down the road. Let's hope they're right.
Thank you very much for all that, Russ Mould. A pleasure having you on the programme.